I'm James Gruber and welcome to the Morning Report for Tuesday the 7th of July. Well, US chip makers sold off hard going into the Independence Day long weekend, but overnight they bounced back again, leading the Nasdaq and broader indices higher. It comes ahead of a big week in the US with SpaceX's inclusion in the Nasdaq index tomorrow US time and the start of the second quarter earnings season in America on Thursday. The optimism on tech overnight didn't extend to other areas of the market like commodities, which were a mixed bag. While oil deals with gradual normalisation of supply after disruptions from the Iran war, other commodities such as copper and aluminium continue to deal with shortages, sending their prices higher. That should provide at least some support for our share market in the short term. Okay, so let's take a deeper look at what's happened with Aussie futures, commodities and currencies. The ASX is poised to open steady with index futures flat. As for the ASX 200 yesterday, it closed 0.2% lower at 8,831. Weakness in heavyweight miners and banks offset gains in energy and healthcare stocks. Investor appetite for Australian equities wavered as signs of rising oil supply fueled hopes of easing inflation pressures, while prompting investors to reassess the implications for global growth and commodity-linked sectors. On commodity markets, global oil prices were marginally lower on Monday, trading around pre-Iran war levels. As Saudi Arabia slashed its official selling prices, OPEC approved another production target increase starting in August, and exports through the Strait of Hormuz recovered again. Brent crude futures settled 0.2% lower at just under $72 a barrel. Base metal prices were higher on Monday as investor focus shifted back to shortages created by disruptions to supplies from the Middle East war. Copper futures advanced 1%, while aluminium futures jumped 1.8%. Gold futures, meanwhile, rose as investors weigh the prospects of a US interest rate hike. The futures settled 1% higher at $4,168 an ounce. Iron ore futures recovered as a drawdown in Chinese port stockpiles and a fresh liquidity injection from the central bank lifted sentiment, even as a sharp deterioration in steel mill profitability capped gains. The futures settled 0.1% higher at $98.30 a tonne. Let's now take a look at currencies. The Aussie dollar was last trading 0.2% higher at 69.54 US cents. Taking a step back now to see how Wall Street and other world markets did. The Dow Jones index finished up 0.3%, the S&P 500 was 0.7% higher, and the Nasdaq climbed 1.1%. A closer look at the trading day there. US share markets climbed, with chip stocks rallying as investors bought shares in companies related to AI that are expected to drive a strong second quarter earnings season starting later in the week. The Philadelphia Semiconductor Index added 2.2%, recovering after two straight sessions of losses. Broadcom jumped 3.7% after the chipmaker and Apple agreed to extend a deal through 2031 to develop and supply a range of custom chips. Peers AMD and Western Digital climbed 6.6% and 7.1% respectively. A more than 6% advance in Tesla led 6 of the 7 mega-cap techs higher. Microsoft lagged, falling 1%, after the tech heavyweight said it was cutting about 2.1% of its workforce, or roughly 4,800 jobs. SpaceX dipped 1%. Elon Musk's rocket and AI giant is set to join the tech-heavy Nasdaq 100 on Tuesday, US time. Shares of O'Reilly Automotive tumbled almost 7% after it sent a cash offer to buy Genuine Parts. Genuine Parts fell 3.2%. US government bond yields were lower after a soft US non-farm payrolls report before the three-day holiday dampened investor expectations for a Federal Reserve increase to interest rates. The US 10-year Treasury yield fell 1 point to 4.47%, while the US 2-year Treasury yield dipped 2 points to 4.11%. Moving to the European markets, the continent-wide FTSE Euro First 300 index ended 0.4% lower, and the UK FTSE 100 lost 0.3%. Europe pulled back after hitting a record high on Monday as investors cashed in on gains following a strong run. Utilities and healthcare stocks were the biggest drag on the index, both down 1.8%. Germany's DAX index bucked the broader regional weakness, however, and inched up 0.2% to a record high, notching up its fifth straight session of gains. Industrial orders in Germany rose more than expected in May. Top stock movers in the region included EasyJet, which jumped 9% after the British budget airline agreed in principle to a sweetened takeover offer from US investment firm Castlelake, valuing the carrier at up to £5.5 billion. Defence stocks, meanwhile, were among the top sectorial gainers, up 1.3%, as the Ukraine war showed no signs of easing. Let's take a look at what's on the watch list. In the US, ADP weekly employment figures and the trade balance for May are out today. And that's it for today. For further developments on the local trading session, please tune into the CommSec Market Update podcast this afternoon and, of course, the Market Close video. Have a great day.